6:34 p.m. Monday, November 4th. I call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Usual announcements, meeting's being taped by 1623 Studios for future broadcast. It's also being recorded by Gail Hunter for accuracy in minutes. Anybody else is recording the meeting is asked to notify the chair at this time. And take an opportunity to turn your cell phones to silent if you can now, so that you won't disturb this very brief meeting. We're down 2 members, so we're going to shorten up a couple of our agenda items tonight. And our agenda is also going to be modified for another reason. So first, our regular item 0 is for anybody who has any comments they want to make on anything that's not on the agenda tonight. Is there anything that anybody has to say that's not on the agenda? All right. So item number 1 was supposed to be a harbor master update. However, the harbor master cannot be with us tonight. So we are going to be skipping over item 1. Item number 2 is scheduled for 6:50, so we're going to fill the time for now with some of the other items on the agenda. We'll move to the consent agenda, which has the Board of Selectmen minutes from October 21st. And I actually have one change that I wanted to make in there. It was actually regarding the review and recommendations for the next step of speed limits. The minutes said, Mr. Bowling stated the recommendation is to increase the 15-mile-an-hour stretch to include the downtown area. He suggests the recommendation remain and allow for public comment. He further stated it is a consensus of the board that the 15-mile-per-hour area be expanded to include the downtown area. And I didn't quite say that. I did suggest the recommendation remain and allow for public comment, and then that we would take the results of that and then make a decision afterwards. So the idea was to leave it in there to allow for public comment to arrive. And I don't think that the board had developed consensus, so I think that that sentence should be removed. Okay, and that's the only changes I had for the minutes on the 21st.
I had a comment on page 3 at the bottom.
Yep.
That said that Mr. Bowling concluded the final decision can be held and decided on town meeting floor on Article 1. And I recalled that you said that we would pass over this, not even vote on it, and hold it off until the April town meeting.
That was at a further meeting.
That was
in a later meeting, yep.
That was a later meeting? Okay.
Yep.
That was the 29th?
You're right.
Yep.
Alright. That's what happens when we start having them every week.
Yep.
I thought the same thing.
Alright, any other edits for those meetings? Alright, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Correspondence, so we have a memo regarding a one-time townwide fall of 2019 curbside leaf collection. An update from the school on the Phase 1 steel activity on this Memorial School building project, which has been going really quite well, according to schedule, and apparently with no real complaints from anybody, which has been very nice. And so far the steel arrivals have not really been disruptive to anybody.
Did it arrive today?
It's been arriving over the past
Yeah, last week and then
weeks.
again, I believe again today. I was looking to our officers if they knew.
And is it
Yeah, the
tomorrow
past 2
also?
weeks.
Yeah.
Really? I thought it was just gonna be coming once they closed down Union Street.
So we've been closing it down just during when the trucks are coming through.
Right.
So
Okay.
So the townwide leaf collection is gonna be, Monday, November 18th and Tuesday, November 19th. And leaf collection, if you're on, that's not if you're on the Monday trash cycle, and if you're on the Tuesday trash cycle, it'll be Wednesday, November 20th, and Thursday, November 21st. And there will be extended hours for Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 5 p.m. at the compost center. A letter from Mayor Spicer regarding the MPO elections. A letter of thanks from the Longevity Bench Project, and a letter of support regarding the police chief appointment. Alright, so, town administrator's report.
So a few things to go over. One, as you know, that the Cornerstone Church has approved going forward with the option to purchase for the town. And so in preparation for that, it would make sense to start in on some design work in terms of what it would take to do a remodeling. So if you're okay with proceeding with that, we do have a proposal from John Harding as an architect in town who would help us with with fleshing out the programming as well as seeing how it might fit into the space over there. So we're gonna
How far will that go, Greg? How far will that planning go?
So it would be basically preliminary design work, assessment, continued assessment of the building, and some initial cost estimating for the renovations.
The renovation based on just that, his ideas or recommendations that have been offered?
No, so it would be sitting down with various departments and talking about some of their space needs.
Yeah.
And then him developing a plan based on meeting those needs, given the space that's there. So that would be the intent. So it's, I think it's,
It's good money.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I think it's a good, it's a fair, very fair price for what we're getting. And I think it'd be worthwhile proceeding to have that information sooner rather than later. So if you're okay with that, I would continue along those lines. Number 2, construction updates, paving, Rockwood Heights and Moses Hill should take place later this week, assuming the weather cooperates. Getting a little colder, but I think it's going to be relatively dry, so we'll see. And then water line work is continuing. They're laying down the bypass of water lines on Magnolia Avenue. It is going to get pretty cold this coming weekend, at least the current forecast is. So we may need to reach out to folks to keep the faucet running so things don't freeze up. I think it's supposed to warm up a little bit after that, so they should be able to get the new line in before it gets real cold. That's the game plan. After they finish up on Magnolia Avenue, then they would move over to Ocean Street and start the second half of that line. And then if the weather continues to look promising, they would move over to Raymond Street as the third component. Thirdly, the recruiting for the fire chief is underway. We have ads placed in the MMA's publication as well as online in the Gloucester Daily Times. Have posted in-house as well, and would anticipate that final interviews will probably be the first of the year by the time we're ready for that. We had a few people step forward being interested in helping with that, but we could use a few more. So if you know of folks, let me know, and we'll continue to make that available. The residents along Mill and Forest Street would like to have some dedicated time to talk specifically about speed along those two roadways. At your last meeting, we indicated that there would be new data being collected since the painting of the lines on those roads, see if that has had an impact. So we would anticipate having them in either the end of November or the 1st of December.
When are we scheduled to be tracking data on Mill Street and Forest Street now, or?
It's currently being done now, yeah.
Right. So I don't know how long you wanted to have that out there.
It's usually done 2 week,
2
period,
week,
like a
yeah.
14-day.
Yeah. And then communications coordinator, pleased to announce that Tiffany Marletta has agreed to come on board to be our new communications coordinator. It'll be a part-time position, 16 to 18 hours a week, and she'll be starting up next Tuesday after the Monday holiday. So that's a milestone that I'm glad we're at, and be helping us with our communications efforts and putting into place a number of those objectives and goals that we've outlined. So that's moving forward. And then a new item that didn't make your list, we are working with Hamilton and Rockport concerning the possibility of hiring an HR human resources director between the three communities. So Hamilton is taking the lead on that and has drafted an intermunicipal agreement for that to take place. And so that would be reviewed by their town council. They use KP law as well as we do in Rockport as well. So all three towns have KP law. So when we're using the same firm, then we have to give them permission that that's okay to do. So for KP law to assist Hamilton in the review of the IMA, we need to give them special permission to do that since we also use them as counsel.
Greg, will KP Law be drafting this? I mean,
So we have a draft and they're reviewing that draft.
I understand that they're gonna review the draft.
Right.
Were they responsible for producing the draft?
So we've been working with MAPC to produce the initial draft,
Okay,
and so then they're reviewing the
okay.
draft that we're providing them.
Because it didn't make a lot of sense when I saw that if they were also involved in the drafting of the document.
So I'm looking for your concurrence that that's okay for them to proceed with that.
Yeah, the cost would be shared between the three towns on the KP lot time.
Right.
Yeah. So we got this today. Today? Yes. Yes, we did. So, and it's time sensitive, which is why we're gonna vote on it tonight. I think this is reasonable. So I'll take a motion to support a shared agreement for the towns of Hamilton, Manchester, and Rockport for KP Law to review the proposed municipal agreement for shared human resources services.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So, this wants our signature, so sign when you can. Alright, what else?
For me, that's all I have for you. I'll talk a little bit about budget. Either now or a little bit later.
I'll give it a couple minutes.
Do you need any of that?
Okay,
Well, I got it. I have it. Thank you.
close enough to 6:50. So we're gonna move on to agenda item 2, which is the police chief appointment ratification. So we've worked with the town administrator over the past couple of weeks on potential contract. Town administrator has given us a contract and some goals, 2-year goals for Todd. And tonight we have to take a vote on whether or not we're gonna ratify the contract that has been put before us by Greg. You all have had your opportunity to review the contract and talk to Greg individually. Any comments or questions that you have right now about the contract?
Pretty straightforward.
Generally in support at this time?
Absolutely.
So we're down 2 members of the board tonight, one for an emergency and one was out for a conference. But I have heard from both of them, and although they're not gonna be voting on the contract tonight, they both support the contract in its current form, and I'll include Arthur's email to me on the topic as part of the record for tonight. Martin Driscoll, her whatever took her away from the meeting came up very recently, so I don't actually have an email from her, but I do have it. I have discussed it with her and she is currently in support. So, that said, I think I would take a motion to approve the police chief's contract as proposed by the town administrator.
So moved.
Get a second?
I'll second that.
Alright. Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so, welcome Todd. Thank you very much.
So we are working on an official swearing-in ceremony.
Yep.
And we're hoping that we can pull everything together for next week. We're working on a venue and dates, so either Wednesday or Thursday of next week. We'll try to get that nailed down, hopefully tomorrow. And we will get that in the paper and publicized and have an official swearing-in and have a good launch.
Absolutely, I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Looking forward to working with you.
And thanks for your patience in the process and for all your supporters as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alright, so, the only other real item on our agenda tonight was a budget development discussion and timeline. Now, given that we're down 2 board members, I don't think that we really want to make any real decisions or have too much discussion about directions tonight. However, we can go over the timeline, and I think that we can afford to start that now, even though it's scheduled for 7, and if anybody comes in after 7, we can review what we discussed, and I think we'll be okay with all I know. So, shall we start with the timeline?
Sure. So the basic timeline is, so the department heads are working right now on their budgets, formulating those. They should have those done sometime this week. We're using a new online budget software package. It's called OpenGov. So people have access to it, and it'll make it easier to assemble all the data and have all the information in one spot. And people can track changes, and it'll be hopefully an easier process for all involved. So that is underway, and the goal is for me and Andrea then to meet with Andrea Town Accountant, to meet with all the department heads between now and Thanksgiving to review their requests and to put together a preliminary budget, which we will present to you at your first meeting in December, December 2nd. And then from there, have you and the Finance Committee begin to identify areas of concern or issues or questions that you have. And then we begin the review of those budgets in earnest in January. And by the end of February, we need to have a final budget. So we'll have the public preliminary presentation as a public meeting in December, and then a second public meeting, a formal public meeting in your second meeting in February, where we would present a fine-tuned budget and an opportunity sort of for one last go-round of input from the public. And then we finalize that budget by the beginning of March so that we can get it off to the printer and have it ready for I think it's April 6th town meeting, that first Monday in April. So that's the general timeline of proceeding with the budget. And the challenges often come in getting to consensus on some of the bigger items with the Finance Committee. But hopefully by having the preliminary in hand early December, that gives the whole month of December to really go through it and to hit the ground running, so to speak, with some real substantive discussions then 1st of January, so that we are able to take people's remarks and comments and do any fine tuning that's necessary well in time for that early March sort of drop dead date when we have to go to the printer. So, comments or thoughts on that timeline? Certainly welcome them.
We'll look at what our meetings in December are.
2nd and 16th.
2nd and 16th, yeah, okay. Will we be meeting with FinCom in December on those, or not with them?
So they'll join you on the 2nd for the presentation of that preliminary budget. And then typically we would not meet as a joint body until early January.
Meeting the first meeting in January, right?
Yes, yeah, that's the goal.
At some point, we should talk about the schedule for January. Our first meeting would probably ordinarily be January 6th,
Mm-hmm.
and then this next one would be January 20th. Just an FYI, it is
So the 20th
highly
is-
likely that I will be not here on the 6th,
Okay.
which I think is workable. But if that's gonna be the joint meeting with FinCom, although oftentimes we have the joint meeting at one of their meetings, right?
Right.
Wednesday the 8th,
Right,
I would be here for that.
okay, all right, well, that's good to know.
At this point, I should be able to make all 4 of those, both December and January.
And then Monday, we would be looking at the 3rd and the 17th. Did I say Monday? I meant February.
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 Yeah. So we've got the 6th and the 20th, right?
Huh?
Or are we going to February now?
I was asking
Are
you.
you suggesting a shift in the schedule from the 6th to the 8th?
No.
No, there is a board of selectmen meeting on the 6th.
Yep.
But I'm almost certainly not gonna be here for that.
Yep.
But the joint meeting with FinCom would actually be on Wednesday the 8th.
I should be able to do both of those. as well as the
The
20th.
20th, Martin Luther King,
20th is Martin Luther King, so the 21st.
21st.
so we'd go to the 21st, yeah.
And then February would be February 3rd and February 17th. Well, that's President's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So
So we go to the 18th.
February 18th. Does that timeline work? And then we may have to, depending on circumstances, inject a meeting for the 24th or wherever it's
Right.
not uncommon.
Yeah.
But we should have that sorted out by the time we get into the January 20th meeting. I would think by then we would know.
So are there just the 2 meetings with FinCom, or is the final, since we're gonna have to do the final budget on, recommendations on the 18th of February, is that correct?
So the 18th, likely you would do your second public meeting and review, and then typically we would do one more meeting after that to finalize.
Yeah. So that'll probably
Got it,
be
okay,
24th.
So it's likely we would meet the 24th as well.
okay.
You could think about doing it on the 2nd, March 2nd. But it's nice to have that as a fallback if the 24th doesn't finalize it.
Yeah.
On the joint BOS FinCom or FinCom BOS meeting on the 8th, what time, is that 6:30 also or 7 do they do?
They start at 7.
That's what I thought, okay, thank you.
And then March we would meet on the 2nd and the 16th. Is that right?
Yes.
Sticking to the regular schedule for a little while. Alright, that's far enough out. Okay, so I don't think there's anything else really on the budget that we can really chew through tonight, right?
No, unless you have your particular areas of wanting to highlight, but
No.
perhaps
I mean, the
that's best saved for
probably.
a full board. That's fine.
So we're pretty much at the point where we can call it on tonight's meeting. But I thought I would, since we have so much time, I thought I would, since we have such a short meeting, I thought I would mention that we did go on a walkabout of the Western Woods property with a bunch of people from Cape Ann Trails and from Concom and the planning from Sue Brown. And Maura Creighton and I and Greg went on that walk. Covered the 12-acre parcel, which is not on the.
I'm really sorry I missed it.
I know.
I couldn't get there, I had a commitment all day.
Well, I think we'll probably end up with opportunities for other walkthroughs of that parcel. It's about a 4-mile walk. And we also went by the 5.7 acre parcel that Concom wants us to put under conservation at the fall town meeting. It's an interesting area. There are a lot of ideas for recreational use. I had talked with Greg about the possibility of meeting with some members of different boards, the Concom, Planning Board, FinCom, Sue Brown, to try to get our ducks in a row, so to speak, before Springtown meeting, because we couldn't get to a consensus on the 12-acre parcel. And we had some back and forth discussions about the 5.7 acre parcel. And I know that this has been frustrating the Conservation Commission, so I wanted to get a little working group together to get this process back on track so that we have an organized attack, and we're not seeing late coming articles arrive with unprepared board members, or board members unprepared to actually render a final opinion because we just don't have enough of the entire whole picture and the timeline for conservation of these properties. So I was gonna, at least personally, plan on being part of that initial sort of introductory meeting. But I wonder if either one, I expect it to be an ongoing, more tightly coupled set of discussions between some of these board members, either in a working group form or somebody going to some of the other meetings when there are discussions being had and then reporting back to the board. Or maybe those boards will come before us a little bit more regularly. My question is, do either of you have a particular interest in serving as a board of selectmen representation in any working group that we put together?
I would have an interest in that. And are we talking about just the Western Woods, or are we talking about the Western Woods and the larger scheme of
I would hope it would be the larger scheme. My objective for this would be to come up with a fairly broad timeline and understanding of what everybody really wants and expects over the next few years with respect to conservation parcels that we know about, things where we think we may need to spend money. Just sort of like the way we have a capital plan, 5 and 10 year capital plan. A larger, more organized plan where we're not every year revisiting these items with
Piecemeal.
Piecemeal.
I would be interested too, and it might be the kind of situation where we could tag team if need be in that way. And it might end up being a lot of meetings if we're trying to go to all the meetings.
Very well might be.
And rather than one taking all the.
when I was referring to the bigger picture, I was referring to the picture of developing tax base over on the other side
Yeah.
of 28.
Yeah.
Not just the conservation commission, not just the conservation properties. I agree with you that we need to have a clearer plan of how these conservation parcels are being addressed. But beyond that, how that fits into a bigger scheme of land use in the town.
I would imagine that would be part of these meetings as well, given kind of how things went at the last meeting.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
All right, so Greg and I will get the ball rolling, and after we have some sort of initial meeting, we'll come back and talk to the board here, and we'll come up with a more detailed plan. Maybe before our next meeting. Yeah, we should be able to do that. We should do that, right?
Yeah.
So you meet, just the two of you, or are you gonna meet with
The two of us will meet with
chairs of the other?
yeah,
the other
chairs,
boards.
yeah.
Good, that's great.
All right, that is really all that I had. So anybody else have anything else they want for tonight? All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Get a second?
I don't
can I
know.
get a second?
I don't know. I'll second that.
Oh, Any discussion? No? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? not a record, but it is with a
See you,
zero.
Roy.
See you back.